y'all. Listen, happy pre-Thanksgiving Day. And in case I don't get to speak to y'all tomorrow, happy Thanksgiving. I hope y'all all enjoy your day, whatever y'all doing, whether you staying home by yourself, whether you are to cook, or you going to somebody's house that cooks. I'm going to my sister's house that cooks, okay? But I did have to make 2 items. I made my salad. I already did it. It was hard work, y'all. And I prepared my fish. I'm not cooking it until tomorrow before I go, but I prepared it. It's all ready. It's in the pan that I'm going to cook it in my refrigerator, all wrapped up, so the flavors will seep in, and I'll cook it tomorrow morning when I get up. And I made some iced tea. Tea is not, it's almost done. It's partially done, but I'm almost ready for Thanksgiving. But I'm glad y'all popping in and spend a few moments with me on this Thanksgiving Eve. We got stuff to talk about because you know there's always stuff to talk about. The title is called Crazy. The title is called Crazy. So we got Nicki Minaj mansion. If she don't keep messing around, it's gonna she's gonna be forced to sell it. Why? Because she owes one of her creditors $500,000. Do you remember when she was on tour and it was this whole big thing that her husband punched the security guard in the jaw, in the face? The security guard said they had to get surgery. Well, she lost that case. It was a judgment of $500,000. And the security guard is not playing games, said he still has not been paid by the woman whose net worth is supposed to be $150,000 to $190,000. How do you have a net worth of $190 million and you can't give somebody $500,000? She claimed it was a misunderstanding between her business manager, this, that, and the other. You know what? If you want to get anything from Oprah, I don't care who like her, who don't like her, who thought she did this, and whatever y'all want to think about Oprah. Oprah, you ain't never hear Oprah in these streets talking about she ain't got no money. And Oprah ain't play them games with Stedman. I ain't saying it's right. I'm just telling you what Oprah did. Oprah ain't never married Stedman, so she ain't have to worry about no $100 million divorce and nobody taking her money. Steppa is her forever. What's his name? Stephen. He her forever boyfriend. But what Oprah said is, you write your own checks. How you not managing your own money? And you talking about people stealing from you. Well, they're going to steal from you because you don't even know what you have versus what you don't have, and what's getting paid and not getting paid. No, you're not going to just tell me, oh, your taxes were paid, Diva. No, I'm going to be at the accountant with you and making sure my taxes got paid. Point blank in a period. Point blank in a period. If I owe, because of some judgment, somebody $500,000, I'm going to make sure they got their $500,000. So I'm questioning, does she even have cash like that? Because this judge said they 2 seconds from forcing the sale of her $20 million mansion, for which she owes $13.3 million in a loan, and then a home equity loan of $700,000 and change, which means she owes $14 million on the $20 million home that she bought for $19.5 million. Now I don't know where her and her man Kevin, what's his name, Petty, I don't know where they're gonna go. Where they gonna buy another home at? Where's the money? I don't know. But I do know that this judge is about to say, sell that house. We're going to talk about it. Then we're going to talk about this Thanksgiving surprise story. We have spoke about this story on my channel before, but now I'm going to give the update They met 10 years ago by a fluke. This grandmother, she had the family group text. You know, the young kids, y'all love to change your phone number. Listen, I had my same phone number for over 20 years. Same cell phone number. Y'all love to change your phone number. One day, the last numbers is 1999. The next thing you know, y'all got a new phone number. It's 2020. So one of her grandchildren, he changed his phone number. She didn't know. So he was a stranger, ended up being in the group text. She said, this grandma, y'all come over for Thanksgiving. And he said, he replied back, he said, you're not my grandma, but can I still get a plate though? And she took a chance and she said, yeah. Nowadays, if you text the wrong number, the person asks back, block them, delete them, because the people is crazy now. But for 10 years in a row, ever since that fluke text, they celebrated Thanksgiving together. It's a cute story. We're going to talk about it on this Thanksgiving. And this Kevin Liles, when the Diddy story, when Cassie sued Diddy, you know, Cassie changed the game. Many people have said that, it ain't never lie. Cassie changed the game. Because at that point, everybody thought the going rate for a civil lawsuit was going to be double digits, $20 million. They just thought that. And some people they got a bag after Cassie. What's that one? Shannon Sharp? Girlfriend caught a bag. She should thank Cassie. She should send Cassie about $100,000 just saying thank you. Cause of you, I rose. That young girl's in her 20s. And she a whole double-digit millionaire now, thanks to Shannon Sharp. Because Shannon Sharp is for the streets, and he likes the streets, and he got caught up in the streets, and so he had to give her $20 million. So people think that's the going rate. Like you got to get double digits. So this Jane Doe, she was suing Kevin Liles from Universal Music Group, saying that, you know, the thing that everybody else said happened to them. They was violated, harassment, all kinds of stuff. And so what happened was, though, her case got kicked out of the courts because previously she sued Universal Music Group and she got a settlement of $47,500. Which when you hear about these other settlements, you like, that ain't nothing. She got nothing. But she took it and she signed on the dotted line. And she must have forgot about the small print. Because the small print said, you can't never, ever, ever come back and try to sue us again or anybody connected to us. Now, why her lawyer didn't know that, I don't know. But don't worry, when it got to the court said, no, ain't happening, tossed it out. You know that, and what happened? What's that darn lawyer name? Why his name slipping my mind right now? The one that had all of those, Tony Busby, all of those lawsuits against Diddy. He went quiet all of a sudden and dark. But Tony Busby was taking anybody that would make, I probably could have called Tony Busby and said I was there and I got violated by so-and-so. He would have been like, okay, come on, we got a case. I'll get you about 10 million. You give me 5. Because Tony seems shady. I think this Jane Doe, I think Tony had her case. And as we found out later on, Tony didn't, let me say this way, it appeared that he didn't care nothing about the law and the rules and what was right and what was wrong. You had a story, he took it. He didn't do no fact checking. He did none of that. He didn't give a darn. You said you want to sue, he said okay. But listen, guys, I done chatted enough. Y'all know the routine, okay? It's time for me to bring the people on in the building. I need to watch y'all. I need to choo. Hold aboard, everybody. It is Wednesday night trending topics, and we got stuff to talk about. The title's called Crazy. We got Nicki Minaj house, her mansion. It may be forced to be put on the market over $500,000. I don't know why people think when the court hit the gavel, it's a joke and they ain't got to pay. No, this man is sticking. He's sticking to it. He won his $500,000. We got the Thanksgiving Day surprise story. We got Kevin Liles. Let me bring the people in the building. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hey, in my opinion. Hey, Felicia.
Hey, Diva, choo choo.
Choo choo. Let's get into this Nicki Minaj story. Because it's shocking to me, but it's not shocking. But how do you have a net worth of 150 million and you can't write a check for 500,000? Let me share this screen so we could get into this story. Let me see. So judge says she is close to forcing the sale of Nicki Minaj's $20 million Los Angeles mansion to settle debt owed to the rapper's former security guard. You know, the men we choose, and I don't want to just say the men because that's just addressing the ladies. The partners we choose in life, it matters. They can either help us rise to the top or they could take us all the way down in the gutter. It just seems like this Kenneth Petty has taken her in the gutter. A California judge says she is close to forcing the sale of Nicki Minaj's $20 million mansion after the rapper allegedly refused to pay damages that were awarded to a former security guard who claims he was assaulted by her husband, Kenneth Petty. In a hearing on November the 24th, Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Cindy told lawyers for both parties that she is leaning toward a forced sale of the opulent home, but said that there is one final detail she wants to reveal before taking that action. My tentative is to grant this. I just want to make sure we're getting it right, she said. The one detail required, according to Rolling Stone, is a Bank of America statement that details Minaj's payments on her $13.3 million mortgage since October 2022, as well as the daily interest that accrued on the debt. The judge explained that she wants to reveal this document to ensure that a forced sale of the property will actually be able to cover the $503,000 that is owed to Minaj's former security guard, Thomas, even if the property sells for well below its market value. That way, hold on now. That's Nicki and the man. That's who she risked it all for. Let's say there's no bidder who offers the full $20 million and it goes up for auction. It don't get fair market value and it doesn't cover everything. If it doesn't cover what the sale is required to cover, including the judgment in this instance, then I would use that as evidence to help me determine that, she said. Thomas' lawyer, Paul, attempted to argue back, insisting that the sale would likely reap millions from more than needed to cover the payments and insisting that they could deal with any shortfall at a later date. However, the judge refused to back down and noted that she will not make a decision until the bank statement is revealed. As I understand it, that's the only piece missing. Everything else looked good, she said. The judge then set a follow-up hearing for January 22nd so she could look over the pending paperwork and make a decision. The latest movement in the case comes weeks after it was first revealed that Thomas had asked the court to force the sale of Minaj's Hidden Hills, California dwelling so that he can claim the money that is owed to him. Thomas, who worked as a security guard at one of Minaj's shows in Germany in 2019, accused Petty of punching him in the face at the event and was later awarded more than $500,000 in damages by a judge. However, he claims that money still has not been paid to him, an error that Minaj, 42, has since blamed on one of her financial advisors. So on October 6, Thomas filed legal docs asking the court to order Minaj to sell her 11-bedroom, 16-bathroom dwelling in Hidden Hills, which she purchased for $19.5 million in December of 2022. In his filing, the security guard noted that the home's $20 million value would cover Minaj and Petty's outstanding mortgage, as well as the money that he is owed. Thomas' legal team stated that the star has a $13.3 million mortgage lien on the property and a $722,000 homestead exemption, together just under $14 million. The property's current fair market value is appraised at $20 million, yielding approximately $6 million in equity beyond the lien and exemption. The filing notes the amount is more than sufficient to satisfy the judgment, plus accrued interest and enforcement costs. Lawyers for the former security guard called attention to Minaj's extraordinary net worth, insisting that she is more than capable of paying him the damages that he is owed. Although it is regrettable that the extraordinary measure of forcing the sale of Minaj's dwelling is required, that result is entirely the product of her intransigence in not making payment, they said. Minaj is a global music superstar, estimated to have a net worth anywhere between 150 million and 190 million, and is reportedly the highest paid female rap star in the world. There's little doubt that she is highly capable of paying the judgment in full, and yet she refused to do so despite multiple written requests for payment and levies served upon several of her suspected creditors. Addressing the legal filing on X, formerly known as Twitter, Minaj insisted that she was unaware any money was still owed to Thomas, placing the blame for the issue on her business manager. I have evidence this was given to a business manager who never told me, she wrote. My lawyers and business managers, old and new, are aware. Let's see if they'll speak up or if I have to call them out by name. That same business manager stole from me many times. The latest legal snafu stems from an incident on March 22nd, 2019, when Thomas says he was physically assaulted by Petty and verbally berated by Minaj after a fan broke through a barrier and charged into the stage during the rapper's performance. The rapper allegedly became upset with the security team and told her husband about the incident. Thomas said he entered Minaj's dressing room in an effort to console her and was reportedly greeted by Starships rapper, her husband, and two other security guards. He claimed that he began consoling a crying Minaj only for her to start yelling at him. He further alleged that she threw her shoe at him before her husband sucker punched him in the jaw without warning. The security guard was taken to the doctor where he was required to have jaw surgery. Minaj's enormous abode in Hidden Hills currently serves as her primary residence. The expansive dwelling comes with 8 bedrooms, several bathrooms, a resort-style pool, a cabana, a terrace with sweeping views of the hills, and a separate guest house. The home spans 12,000 square feet and sits in a wealthy neighborhood where several stars reside. Minaj previously rented a $28,000 monthly dwelling in Calabasas in 2020. She was previously rented a pad in Beverly Hills for $35,000 a month. Minaj also once owned a 7,000 square foot abode with 6 bedrooms. It was her main residence before she picked up her Hidden Hills dwelling. Listen. This is bad. In my opinion, your thoughts? Where's the money?
Well, allegedly the money has been smoked up, snorted up, whatever you want to call it. Um, and if you said you gave it to the manager and the manager been stealing for you for years, when you gonna stop it? So you gonna stay on this spiral? This don't sound like somebody who's looking after their resources very well. Um, and her husband sure ain't looking for it because he ain't got to pay for nothing. He been on a downward spiral since he was 19. So I don't expect him to do no better. You know what? She went digging in the trash for this man, so let her stay in the trash.
Felicia, your thoughts?
Wow. Happy early Thanksgiving, everybody. You read a lot there, Diva. So I don't know. So I'm just going to ask if you have to make payments out on a judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say they worked it out 4 payments of blank. doesn't it come to the residents that you owe the money or you're going to make a payment? I'm trying to understand how she's blaming the manager. So it's like she doesn't get bills at home. She doesn't know what.
Well, she didn't make out a payment plan, right? So you would have to make, once the judgment is called, you have to say, okay, well, can I make a payment plan or whatever? She never made a payment plan. She just ignored the bill.
Oh,
Well,
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 yeah, okay.
she's claiming she didn't ignore it. She's claiming business managers was given this and she didn't know it was not
Right,
paid.
right.
Uh-huh.
So I happen to know that when there's a judgment against you and you're not paying it, there's also interest applied.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something called legal fees too that you would have had paid for these services. So I'm wondering if she's just that naive to think that she could go up in front of a judge in a court and say, well, I thought so-and-so paid it. They don't give a damn who you thought paid it. You're going to pay it. And that's what this sounds like. It sounds like a forced sale on a major valued asset for a minor outstanding expense. And she's willing to risk all of that because she wants to ignore what she owes. And I it's not making sense to me why you would want to throw away your own home and be put out, particularly since those people in that community don't want her and her husband there anyway.
They don't.
So you're giving them, they were already going to move against you. They weren't going to show you favor. They weren't going to, do a reach out and say, hey, you haven't paid this bill, come work it out. We could work something down, blah, blah, blah. Now they want you gone. And once that judgment is made on that property, she can't reverse it. She's taking such risk. And it's foolish because you're really throwing away millions for a couple $100,000.
I'm under the impression she just doesn't have the money. But my thing is she has equity in the home. So she could just do borrow $500,000 on a home and pay this man. Something is amiss with this whole situation. It is not making sense.
I agree. It's not making sense.
Yeah,
reasonable people don't make these kind of errors on something so valuable. If your home was absolutely valued at $500,000 and you owed somebody $5,000, you would go out of your way to go get that $5,000 to go pay these people.
Right.
You wouldn't risk the overall value of your home. This is your home. And this is her primary home, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A primary residence. And the other problem with it is, like you said, Felicia, they've been wanting her out of this neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, I think years in a row, we reported it on this channel too. She kept getting swallowing calls to the home. Once they found out who her husband was, they was like, we want her out. It's a very prestigious area out there in LA. So they want her gone. And because it's unusual that this judge is even considering this, but I think, as you stated, Felicia, we know why this judge is probably considering it, because the good people in that neighborhood want her out, right? So this is going to be a lucky default for them if they could get her out on this situation.
Yeah, and if I'm remembering correctly, it was even something to do with the school that the child goes to in that area. They didn't want his father to come to the school to pick him up.
Right.
It was just terrible. And then they even had a petition out, and they were limiting where they could go as a family. So this isn't very bright. This wasn't the way to have this go. No. So here goes her holiday season.
Messy. Yes, messy. Well, I might go throw in the nice story in between these three stories. So let me hit you with the Thanksgiving story. So hold on one second. We'll take a look.
This is a great boost, and y'all are probably familiar with today's subject because we first met them back in 2016. An Arizona grandmother accidentally texted a Thanksgiving invite to the wrong person, and that complete stranger actually accepted. What began as a hilarious mix-up quickly turned into a real friendship, and now that duo is getting ready to spend their 10th holiday feast together. Every year since 2016, Wanda Dench and Jamal Hinton have celebrated Thanksgiving together. A beautiful tradition that started in the most unexpected way, an accidental text.
I was sending a text to my grandsons, inviting them for Thanksgiving, and I didn't know at the time that one of my grandsons had changed his phone number.
That text ended up going to Jamal, a 17-year-old high school senior at the time, who replied back to Grandma saying,
"You ain't my grandma, but can I have a plate though?"
Wanda decided to take a chance on the stranger.
So I said, "Of course, that's what grandmas do. We feed everyone."
That Thanksgiving, the two finally broke bread at Wanda's home in Arizona, and they've spent the holiday together ever since.
And how has your relationship with Wanda been an important part of the trajectory of your life?
It's like having a mentor in a way, a mentor, best friend, a grandma, like all in one bucket.
The two have been by each other's side through all the highs and lows, including the loss of Wanda's beloved husband, Lonnie, in 2020, and a recent battle with breast cancer.
It feels like you've needed him more than you would have even realized 10 years ago.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And this year, as they get ready to spend their 10th Thanksgiving together, they have even more to be thankful for. Wanda is now cancer-free and thriving.
We still have a life to live. We still have, hopes and dreams, for our future, no matter how long it's going to be. My husband, he was very spiritual, and he would tell me that God had a plan for us. It was about healing the country, is what he said. And that he's just using Jamal and me as tools.
Yeah, for sure. And, our world we know is sort of less connected. Yet, look how you made friends. What is your advice for people that want that type of friendship?
Follow your heart. Don't be afraid to make connections.
I call, Wanda picks up. So I just hope that we are there as long as we can be for each other, having each other's back through the path of life.
This year, Jamal will be hosting Wanda at his family home. They even have a special partnership with Green Giant, catering their meals so they don't have to cook.
Love that.
If you're wondering what goes on during their feast, they say it's filled with good conversation, good food, and games. A few years ago, they stayed up till 2 a.m. playing Rummy Cube.
We can relate.
Do you not love that? But no, Jamal was like, I have all these big things coming for me. He's with his girlfriend. He's like, I'm going to get married and she will be there. I'm going to have kids and she will be there. And it just shows you that if we opened our hearts a little more to strangers, beautiful relationships.
Lead with love and not fear, which she did reply with his response
And he did
hers.
too.
Yeah,
the way
they
he
both
showed
did.
up.
I butt dialed Savannah yesterday, and I'm just going to spend Christmas with you.
You're moving into the basement.
Yeah, the whole family.
You butt dialed me twice. I answered. I was so excited when I got your call.
You were like, thought it was going to
I'm like, oh, you want to chat?
What a beautiful story. Hold on one second. Let me share screen. There we go. So grandma who went viral for inviting a stranger to Thanksgiving celebrates the 10th holiday meal with their accidental grandson. Absolutely beautiful. Their friendship is sweeter than pumpkin pie, even 10 years later. An Arizona grandma who went viral for inviting a teenage stranger to Thanksgiving dinner will celebrate her 10th holiday feast Thursday with a young man who she now considers chosen family, she said. There was no generational gap at all. Like we were just like pals forever. Wanda Dench, 68, of Mesa, told the Today Show this week. That grew into family and love, and I feel so blessed. Dench didn't know her grandson had changed his cell phone number when she accidentally sent the invite via a group text to Jamal Hinton's phone in November 2016. Then the 17-year-old who lived 45 minutes away replied with a laughing emoji saying, "You're not my grandma. Can I still get a plate though?" "Of course you can. That's what grandmas do. Feed everyone," she wrote back, prompting the internet to go wild for the pair's unlikely friendship. Hinton, who is now 26, took her up on the Turkey Day dinner and has every year since he told the Today Show. It's just amazing to sit back. It's just amazing to sit back and think that one mistaken text led to so many people's happiness and joy, Hinton said. So Thanksgiving dinner at my house on November 24th at 3 p.m. Let me know if you're coming. Hope to see you all. Of course, that includes Amanda and Justin. Who is those, right? Your grandma. Grandma, can I have a picture of who? You, LL. You not my grandma. He said, can I still get a plate dough? And she said, of course you can. That's what grandmas do. We feed everyone. The Touching I Do will now take turns hosting Thanksgiving dinner, including last year at Hinton's Art House in Phoenix. They have celebrated Thanksgiving through the death of Dench's late husband, Lonnie, of COVID-19 complications in 2020 and her breast cancer diagnosis. That's those two together. The first year, Dench said she had so many members of the media at her house, she didn't actually get to know Hinton very well. We had more media people at my house than we had family members, said Dench. So she and Lonnie invited him and his then girlfriend to dinner at a restaurant a couple months later and had a blast. There wasn't ever an awkward moment, says Hinton, adding they chatted until the restaurant closed. Thanksgiving is the only time we don't get to have really great conversations with each other because we're always interviewing, she said. Dent says she's now cancer-free as of her last checkup and thrilled to spend another Thanksgiving with Hinton. We got to actually inspire people, and that's all I want to, inspire people to do better or to step out of your comfort zone and try something new, Hinton said. That story is so beautiful. I can never get enough of it. In my opinion, your thoughts?
That is a beautiful story. It's an amazing story. I think they both needed each other and didn't know they did. And what an amazing way for them to meet, through text. Something you do. It's been plenty of times I done text the wrong person because they didn't change their number, but I've never invited them to my house. He did, but let's say, hey, this story turned out, perfect for her. She found a grandson that seemed like more, in tune to her than her own grandsons. At least he keeping up with his number. He keeping up to date and everything and planning on inviting her to his wedding. We don't know about his family, if he lost his family members or not. They didn't say. Right. But I think he needed her as much as she needed him, and they didn't know it, but God did, and he sent them to each other.
I believe that too. As long as I've been looking at this story, it never said anything about his mom, his father. So I'm connected.
And the parents never did come to dinner with him. And at 17, a high school senior, I would think, right. And my child was going to meet some stranger, I'm definitely gonna be there.
Yeah, thank you. In my opinion, Felicia, your thoughts? Oh, did we lose Felicia? We might have.
I'm back. Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm here. Okay. Hey, no, it's a beautiful story. I love it. I've been following it for the 10 years, watching the photos though of how they've changed, how he's grown from a kid to a man to an adult. Right? It's very nice, and I wish that same kind of love all across this world. That folks have some place to go to be welcomed. I think that's what it was when he asked. She welcomed him. And sometimes we're not so welcoming, and we have good reason to be, but I think that was what brought them together. So, because there was never any judgment. Well, just come on. Yeah, that's what grandmas do. So you can come. So thank you for sharing that, Diva.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's an absolutely beautiful story. I look forward to them spending many more Thanksgivings together. And you know what? Shout out to Green Giant for sponsoring this meal and the dinner. This is just a great story all the way around. And this is genuine love. So I love it. And I love the way that they don't put the burden on one individual. It's not all on grandma. He hosts one year, she hosts the next, so forth and so on. So just an amazing story, and I love it. So we're going to go ahead and roll right into the last story. And the last story is this Kevin Liles story. When I saw this, I said, what's interesting to me is how some stories, like when the people are suing, the story is everywhere, loud and clear. This was like buried, but I was like, it's interesting. And what is interesting to me is that when you go suing people, you gotta, you know, that check comes, normally the check comes with some stipulations. Just like in Shannon Sharp case, I'm sure the young lady can never like write a book, really directly say anything about Shannon Sharp ever again. So you gotta read the fine print, and depending upon how much money you get, you gotta be okay with it, right? And 47,000 probably seemed like a lot to her back then. But then as here she is however many years later, and she's seeing that, oh, these other people is getting millions, she wish she would have maybe held out for more. So judge dismisses Kevin Liles' SA lawsuit brought by former Def Jam assistant. A federal judge ruled the woman's lawsuit was barred by a prior confidential settlement agreement reached with Universal Music Group. So, federal judge has dismissed the SA lawsuit filed by a former Def Jam assistant against the label's ex-president, Kevin Liles. In a new ruling issued Monday and attained by Rolling Stone, the judge agreed with Liles that the Jane Doe plaintiff had reached a previous confidential settlement with Universal Medical Group that barred her from bringing any related claims, including against Liles as an individual. As Rolling Stone previously reported, the woman received $47,500 under the 2005 settlement with UMG after filing an initial complaint with the New York State Division of Human Rights on June 29, 2004. In her 2004 complaint, the woman alleged she was fired from UMG in retaliation for her complaints of discrimination and harassment. Liles was not a signatory to the confidential statement. Liles is expressly and unambiguously covered by the terms of the agreement, given that he is listed as a release in the preamble and included in the relevant definition of universal. U.S. District Court Judge Naomi Rice wrote in her ruling, the agreement consistently and intentionally utilizes broad language discharging any and all claims which are known or reasonably should be known by plaintiff. A spokesperson for Liles had no comment when reached by Rolling Stone on Tuesday. Lawyers for Jane Doe plaintiff did not immediately respond to a request for a comment. In a lawsuit filed earlier this year, the Jane Doe claimed Liles made sexually inappropriate comments and advances and then armed her in a company office in 2002. Kevin Liles proceeded to physically force himself on top of Jane Doe, where he began to SA and ultimately R her despite her continued protest, the 21-page lawsuit said. Liles 57 vehemently denied the claims, calling them outrageous. In a statement last February, he vowed to clear his name and sue the woman and her lawyers for defamation. In a letter to the court, his lawyers accused the woman of hoping to extort a settlement out of Mr. Liles based on negative publicity. Jane Doe's lawyers argued against the case dismissal, claiming Jane Doe had a good faith belief that the scope of the release was not intended to cover the R by Kevin Liles. They said the woman considered the $47,500 a servant's package for her employment claims. Well, ignorance of the law doesn't excuse you from the law. So if I'm sure she had a lawyer back in 2005, and her lawyer should have explained it to her. But if he didn't, shame on the lawyer and shame on her for not digging further. And if she knew back then that he argued her, why did she not go to the cops? But in my opinion, your thoughts?
These people are crazy because they think just because somebody's getting something in 2025, they entitled to it too. Well, ma'am, you already been paid for your pain. And you took the settlement of $47,000 and signed the paperwork. So even if you thought, the lawyer that you hired should have looked at that paperwork and saw that you ain't have no claim. You know what I think is sad, that people would rather sell their soul for $1 than to actually do what's right.
Thank you, in my opinion. Felicia, your thoughts?
Oh, deep. Oh, opinion. No, this one's not settling good with me. That language that you read there. So I don't think either one understood the language. Now, it is considerable time has passed, but we do know from data that people who have been assaulted, particularly ARD, it takes them a long time to come out of that situation and have some point of clarity. Yes, it's a long time, but still, that language seemed to have gotten couched in between. What was it? Wrongful termination and something else? What did I? Yeah, something like that. It's almost two ends of the spectrum there. And so, no, maybe the lawyer at the time wasn't experienced, knowledgeable. Maybe that wasn't their practice area. However, the one that she got to go take this case was an idiot, because they should have read the language and they should have noted it, and they should have spoken to her very clearly about what it was going to mean by taking these risks. So it's almost like she reopened the whole situation to have gained nothing. And now she may very well get countersued. So she breached an agreement, and then she put things out here in the public that may or may not be true. Yeah, bad. I'm done.
Yeah. Let me say this. It is definitely bad for her, right? How do I want to? Let me just say this. I believe that the entertainment industry is a dangerous thing that you have got to learn how to navigate if you are going to try to survive in it. If you did not get a chance to see B and Eddie on Netflix, and it's the Eddie Murphy like documentary, I would say it's a good watch and you should take a look at it. You know, there are people that survive the entertainment industry. They survive, have their health, and they didn't fall into the drugs, the alcohol, and the money schemes, and people stealing their money, and they still have their money, or some of it or whatever. And there's people that unfortunately fall into the pitfalls. We hear about more people falling into pitfalls than not. So to back up and say, do I think a lot of these people, females, well, it's not just the females. A lot of individuals in the industry get used, get abused, get bad contracts, get ripped off, get underpaid, and all of that. I'm going to say yes. But I want to also say this, maybe not on the same level and degree, because I never been to an office where just readily available was the substances and the alcohol. But I think all professions deal with some type of craziness. But whether you're in the entertainment industry or corporate America, you have to make decisions on, am I going to participate or allow these shenanigans, or am I going to say no and move on from it? There was a person that I don't know these people personally, that allegedly was subjected to Combs coming to the door to interview him in the underwear, whatever else the case may be, and walking around him done with no clothes on, and that person removed themselves from the industry. And there are a lot of individuals that unfortunately they stay, and then they want to come to us and they want us to correct the wrong that happened 20, 30 years ago. There is the person that testified in the Diddy case That was the Jane Doe. I'm not going to say her name on this channel, but most of y'all know who she is. She claims she was forced to do so many things, this, that, and the other. I saw her pictures on the Instagram the other day, and Diddy can't be forcing her because he locked up behind bars, and she looked like she was back on the market. And if you know who it is, go to the Instagram and you will understand what I'm trying to say. Back on the market. You know, they want to claim that they were forced to do XYZ, but you see their Instagram and you like, well, who's forcing you now? Listen, people, I feel for this young lady because I think she came back. Come on to that, back on the stroll. Listen, I think she figured here it is in 2025. She's hearing about all of these settlements and the people, you know, getting double-digit millions. And she's thinking to herself, all of that happened to me and I got $46,000. There's times where you got to chalk it up to the game. There's a lot of jobs that I did where I found out later the people was making 5, 10, 15, 20 more dollars than me. But I said yes to the amount that they had told me at the time. And then that's when I said, okay, when I move on next time, I know how to shake, rattle, and roll. I know how to ask for what I want. Sometimes you got to learn the hard way. You got to bump your head up against the wall to know that, you know what? I know for the next time. So anyway, guys, and here's the thing. I do understand that it's not easy to, you know, say somebody has violated you. But I still will have to say this. I'll never understand how you'll go for the civil suit over going to the police when you are ready. We have had some recently where they claim all of these violations in real time, and instead of going to the cops, they're going straight for a civil suit. And not for nothing, I'm talking the young man who is suing Tyler Perry. If this is all harassment and you was violated, go to the cops because your stuff is not up against a statute of limitation. I think that's to me, this is just me, there should be some parameters around these civil suits. Like some of these judgments coming out like $100 million, 50, I don't know, I just think it's crazy. I think it should be some parameters around these civil suits, especially because some of these people, they coming out and they not, to me, all of them are not being 100% truthful. And then they could end up with a 20, 30, 40, $50 million judgment. But anyway, guys, I hope y'all have the best day ever tomorrow. Thank y'all for coming through and spending a moment with me. Y'all know the routine. If you ain't hit that like button on the way in, do the diva a favor, hit it on the way out. And all of y'all, you know, the story we learned from that Thanksgiving, but be careful, right? Because now people are so darn crazy. But the thing we learned from that Thanksgiving surprise story was that just be kind. And I'm not saying you got to be kind to perfect strangers. Be kind to your family, your friends, and, you know, enjoy your time tomorrow and be grateful and thankful at the very least that you woke up with breath in your lungs, okay, and you still alive to get this thing right another day. Thanks for being here, guys. I love y'all. Happy Thanksgiving. I'll see y'all when I see y'all because I'm not sure what I'm doing yet the rest of this week. So good night and goodbye, everybody. Choo choo.